Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Salah Satunimah and I will explain about the teacher's perspective of ICT integration in English language teaching, a review of literature. Introduction. Information communicative technology has been basic requirement and essential aspect in education in a global context nowadays. ICT in the form of digital literacy becomes one of the competencies that teachers must have in the 21st century era of teaching. Many countries such as Greece, Israel, USA, and some other Asian countries like Malaysia, Singapore, and Korea have established ICT into their education system by having policy for teachers' professional development on ICT. Several studies about teachers' perspective and ICT policy for education were explored into the last decades. Methods. This paper compares and synthesizes 38 articles related to the teacher's cognition and perception to ICT integration. The articles are selected based on the research topic about teachers' perspective on ICT and taken from reputable journals published during 2001 until 2019. This paper reviews several previous studies focusing on the teacher's perspective on the use of information technology in education, particularly the use of ICT in English language teaching contexts. The analysts take a closer investigation on the subject of the research, finding of the research, and the methodology of conducting the research. Firstly, it reviews some studies on teachers' perspective in education. It comprehends how teachers in general value ICT implementation in a teaching and learning process for many different subjects at many different levels of education, teaching, and contexts. The next is evaluates more specific on English teachers' perspective toward ICT integration in English teaching classroom. Finally, it praises some findings of English teachers' perspective of ICT in English language teaching happen in Indonesian settings. Teachers' perspective of ICT in education. There had been many studies about teachers' perspective on ICT integration toward education in some countries, and also some researches on the impact and result of ICT training and courses for pre-reserved teachers. The implementation of ICT in primary levels also leads to investigation of the primary teachers' belief on the use of ICT for their pupils. Teachers' perspective of ICT studies were also done in the context of subject teaching besides English, like science and math English. This review paper will concentrate on the latest trends of investigation on teachers' perspective of ICT integration in education in recent years. Teachers' perspective of ICT in ELT Indonesian context. Indonesian education policy has put digital literacy as one of the skills, besides numerical and literacy skills, that students and teachers must acquire in 21st century teaching and learning. ICT competency is one of the main goals and learning outcomes of the national curriculum. Computers and internet technology has become daily normal use in the student and the teacher activity because internet and social media could easily be accessed by citizens in a very reasonable price. And the conclusion of this paper is The above research results show how ICT has a great role and impact toward accurate language teaching. ICT has been basic requirement and essential aspect in education in global context nowadays. ICT in the form of a digital literacy and literacy becomes one of the skills that students must acquire beside words and numerical literacy in the 21 era of learning. From the recent teachers as the front learners in education need to master digital literacy, having the ability of using ICT to find, create, and communicate information and acquiring both cognitive and technical skills. It can be concluded that more research on the teacher's perspective on ICT implementation in language teaching use quantitative approach. Um, it used survey, correlation, and multiple regression designed to see factors influencing and affecting the ICT employment. The main instrument used in the design is questionnaires. Some research use qualitative approach like a case study and ethnography designed to explore finding in depth on the reasons and background that might stimulate teachers' perspective of ICT in ELT. Interviewers used to have deep elaboration on the findings. Mixed method and comparative study are also accounted in this research area. The research subjects are mostly senior high school teachers, but different samples of pre-service teachers and elementary school teachers are also investigated. Nevertheless, teachers' perspective of ICD in ELG investigation on higher education level is still limited.